you would think with all this information and knowledge that I've got that I would feel empowered and better off, but instead I really feel...
Well, if we thought that, then we wouldn't have written that book, and then that book, and then that book, and then that book, and then that book. Are you upset with yourself at not getting it the first crack out of the box?
Yeah. I feel like with all this knowledge that I've gathered, that I would feel more empowered and better off, but instead I feel really overwhelmed and overthink everything. And I have a lot of stress and anxiety a lot of the time because I worry about the negative thoughts and beliefs and feelings that I have surrounding the things that I want in life. And I worry that because of this, it's keeping me from getting them. I know that, and I have so many dreams and things that I want to experience and have, but I feel really frozen with fear of them not coming true. And I feel like if I don't believe 100% and know that they'll come true and feel good all the time when I think about them, that there's no point in trying or going for anything because of my negative thoughts and beliefs are keeping me from getting it. And it's frustrating because I try really hard. I try really hard to feel good and think positive and feel like there's always that voice inside me that's determined to keep me from being happy, that voice that's constantly comparing me to other people and doubting and worrying and criticizing and overthinking everything that I do and think. And I want so bad to just relax.
It's interesting. Did you hear us earlier today? We were talking about how the orbs, and we were talking about how we pick you from the crowd, and that a strong desire causes a very powerful spiking. That's how we saw you. In fact, somebody else tried to get in your chair, and we said, "No, not you." So she's worried about you dripping on the microphone. So, as we saw you, the energy of your desire, even though you are a bit as you've described, in that you are worrying about things, so there is a strong tug of war, which is evidenced by the way you're feeling and even about the way that you were reading there. But the desire is so strong that it will prevail. It's wonderful to see such powerful desire so early in life, and that's the most significant thing that we want to say to you. Is that you hit the ground running coming in. In other words, you came with powerful desire. Now, as you listen to us for a little while through the books or the recordings or even in this gathering today, you're going to remember or reawaken to something that you already know, that when you've got strong desire and you're not going along with it, that desire is really uncomfortable. And yet you, and we do it too, are making a bigger deal than we want to out of not going along with it, because the not going along with it is just a byproduct really of the environment in which you've been living. It isn't that. Someone said to us they were concerned about their teenager and really wanted to protect their child from experiences that they had found to be unpleasant when they were young, and wanted us to help them find a way to guide the child so that they didn't have to feel any of this angst and stuff that you're feeling. And we said, we wouldn't help you if we could, because we know that in all of that discomfort, this is the time that you're putting big time stuff into your vortex. And sometimes powerful energies come into physical form intending to understand and teach through the clarity of their example in a very powerful way. And when that happens at early ages, they scrutinize life in a more detailed way than most anybody does. finding more problems and therefore putting more solutions, finding more questions and therefore putting more answers. And that's precisely what's going on with you. You have, at an earlier age than we nearly ever acknowledge. We're not going to say you're the one and only or that you are the absolute exception, but you have put more into your vortex at this early age of your life than almost anybody that you will ever meet. And now you're feeling the pull of not being able to just at the drop of the hat go right in there, but you need some life experience in order to work your way in. So you didn't ask for a feathered nest, and you didn't understand for complete understanding, because if you'd come forth into this physical body knowing everything in the way that you're coming to know it even now, you wouldn't have put nearly as much into your vortex, and there wouldn't be nearly as much wonderful things that are going to evolve for you as you're moving through life experience. So everything that you're feeling here, we could boil it down to just a handful of statements that go like this. I wanted in a very powerful way, exposed myself to enough contrast that, and in the process of that, I have come upon an inordinate amount of self-doubt. And the reason that I have an inordinate amount of self-doubt is because I have a vortex that is so progressive with so many wonderful things. And when I catch up with it, and I will, I'm going to soar really far, really fast at a really young age. It's sort of like just compressing things so that a lot more happens fast. You get a sense of what we're talking about? Mm-hmm. Now, let's get to the details of what you can do about it, because we found you articulate, and we know that you have the ability to think and focus. But we also know that you're like almost everybody else that you'll ever meet, where you let what is train your vibration. And what's happening, do you know this planet on which you are living, it is so screwy these days. There are so many people focused upon so many things that just are not as you know it to be. So we're going to tell you why you're feeling such intensity, and you're going to like this. So just relax and hear this. It's not about you since you got here. It's about you before you got here. So it'll help you understand some things. So everyone's running around exploring life, knowing what they don't want, knowing what they do want. And they're creating these vortices that we've been talking about. So you have a vortex, and you have one, and you have one, you all have one. But there's also this collective consciousness. There's this vortex that is the vortex that is culminating as a result of all that's been lived. Now, that vortex is what humans will experience as future experience, but it's the now reality of what is source, or of what man wants to call God, or non-physical. It's this culmination of desire. It's the eternal energy that supports everything that's coming. And it's from this pool of energy that new energies are being born. So it's all that knowledge that has culminated, and all that goodness, the best of everything that has culminated, that is the energy from which you came. So you came as a powerful teacher with all of that energy into an environment that is bickering about just about everything. Nobody likes anybody very much anywhere anymore, it seems like. So it's no wonder it's a little hard to take, because you come from all of this knowing of all of this well-being. So it's a bit of a rocky ride, but here you are, so early in your experience, with a vortex well enough formulated for an 80 or 90 or 120-year-old, and still in the process of trying to define what's going on. So the conversation that we just had before you sat down is a really good basis to begin with here, because you heard us speaking about how you have to ignore what is and just focus upon what's in the vortex. And you were trying to describe some of what you think is in there. Who do you think you are? What is it that you want? What is it that you're looking for that you feel that you haven't been able to find? Because the most powerful and interesting thing that we heard from you and felt from you as you were describing, it was the purest rendition we've ever heard of someone who was simply trying to explain how awful it feels not to be in the vortex. In other words, you weren't saying, I want a car and I can't get it. I want a girlfriend and can't get it. You weren't saying, my mother doesn't understand me. You weren't saying, they're beating up on me in the playground. In other words, you weren't talking about anything other than this innate knowing that you're supposed to feel better than you do and you don't know what to do about it. Isn't that right? Don't you love knowing how smart you are so fast? Because these old guys, because almost everyone else, in other words, by the time we meet most people, they've settled in to wanting something other than alignment. And so we have to start way. We just have to deconstruct everything that they've ever thought about everything to get them to understand. And you heard us just say the last thing just now to this mother, that we said we're going to give, now here is the test. Why do you want to get into the vortex? Do you want to get into the vortex in order to fix a relationship or to get something that you don't have? Or do you want to get into the vortex because that's who you are and that's where you belong? And that's what you came here to say. In other words, I want to be in the vortex because I know I'm supposed to feel good. I'm supposed to feel proud of me and proud of others. I'm supposed to feel good. Life is supposed to be fun. I'm sure. I remember it so deeply in every fiber of my being. Life is supposed to feel fun, and it isn't feeling fun. Something's off. Something's wrong. And all it is that you and almost everybody else you just caught it earlier, so it'll be way easier for you. Because most everybody else felt it and then accepted, well, life isn't supposed to be fun. And that is the saddest story of all. Because when they accept that it isn't supposed to be fun and they acquiesce to the way that it is, they deprive themselves of the fullness of that which you are determined not to deprive yourself of. So what you do, you just do it a little bit at a time. You catch yourself in the vortex and then you milk it. And you think about, what is it that feels good about this? And you just play it over and over in your mind. And when you find something that doesn't feel good, you do your best to try to ignore it. And you say things to yourself like, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just more understanding of emotions. I'm feeling my guidance system in a stronger way. My guidance system is going to serve me earlier and younger than almost anybody else. And I'm going to get a handle on this. In fact, I've already got a handle on it. And then just what Esther does, because Esther has found herself really sensitive to energy. And like you, when she thinks about something, even if it's something that is a reality that normally she might think she needs to do something about, it's painful to focus upon it. And so she's just coming more and more to the place where when she finds things that are painful to focus upon, it's just not worth it. In other words, let humanity take care of humanity. Or, in other words, nothing is worth sacrificing your alignment with who you are.